What happens when America's most trusted morning show host comes face to face with royalty's most controversial figure? You won't believe what unfolds when Meghan Markle sits down with Gayle King on CBS Mornings, and what was supposed to be a carefully orchestrated PR appearance turns into an absolute disaster that has everyone talking. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below because you're not going to believe what unfolds. Last night's episode of CBS Mornings started like any other, but within minutes, the studio atmosphere became so toxic that producers were scrambling behind the scenes. What began as promotional appearance for Meghan's latest venture quickly spiraled into one of the most uncomfortable television moments in recent memory, with accusations flying, voices raised, and ultimately ending with security being called to escort the Duchess of Sussex off the premises. The tension was palpable from the moment Meghan walked onto the set. Gayle King, known for her warm demeanor and diplomatic interviewing style, seemed unusually reserved as she greeted her guest. Sources behind the scenes later revealed that there had already been several heated exchanges between Meghan's team and the show's producers about what topics would and wouldn't be discussed during the segment. "Good morning, Meghan. Thank you so much for joining us today," Gayle began, her professional smile not quite reaching her eyes. The camera captured every micro-expression as Meghan settled into her chair, adjusting her posture with the calculated precision of someone who had spent years in front of cameras but never quite mastered the art of appearing genuinely comfortable. "Thank you for having me, Gayle," Meghan replied, her voice carrying that familiar tone that somehow managed to sound both gracious and slightly condescending at the same time. "Though I have to say, I'm a bit surprised by some of the questions your producers mentioned backstage. I thought we had an understanding about the direction of this conversation." The warning signs were already there. Gayle's eyebrows raised slightly, a telltale sign that she wasn't about to be managed by her guests' expectations. "Well, Meghan, you know how these things work. Our viewers are interested in hearing about all aspects of your life and work. That's what makes for compelling television." "Compelling for whom?" Meghan shot back, her carefully constructed media persona already beginning to crack. "Because I'm here to talk about my new business ventures and philanthropic work, not to be interrogated about personal family matters that have been twisted and taken out of context by the media for years." The studio fell silent, except for the hum of cameras. Gayle leaned forward slightly, her journalist instincts clearly activated. "I think our viewers would disagree with you there, Meghan. When you put yourself in the public eye the way you have, especially with some of the claims you've made, people want to know the truth. That's not interrogation. That's accountability." Meghan's composure visibly shifted. The practiced smile faltered, replaced by something harder, more defensive. "Accountability? That's rich coming from someone who's built their entire career on maintaining relationships with the establishment. Tell me, Gayle, when was the last time you held your friend Oprah accountable for platforming questionable guests? Or maybe we should discuss your own journalistic integrity." The personal attack landed like a slap. Gayle's expression hardened, and for a moment the veneer of morning television pleasantries completely disappeared. "I'm sorry. Did you just question my integrity? After everything you've put your own family through? After the way you've manipulated narratives and played victim while simultaneously attacking an institution that can't defend itself?" "There it is," Meghan said, sitting back in her chair with a bitter laugh. "The real Gayle King. Not the supportive friend act you put on when the cameras were rolling during my Oprah interview. You've been waiting for this moment, haven't you? To tear me down on national television." The confrontation was escalating faster than anyone in the studio had anticipated. Producers were frantically gesturing from behind the cameras, trying to signal for commercial break. But both women seemed oblivious to everything except their mounting animosity toward each other. "I supported you through that interview because I believed you were being honest," Gayle responded, her voice rising slightly. "But since then, story after story has come out contradicting what you said. The staff you allegedly fired for racist behavior have spoken out. The timeline of events you presented doesn't match public records. So yes, I think it's time someone asked you the hard questions instead of giving you another platform to spread misinformation." Meghan's face flushed with anger. "Misinformation? Are you fucking kidding me right now? You're going to sit there and accuse me of lying about racism I experienced?" About the mental health struggles I went through? That's exactly the kind of gaslighting bullshit that drove me out of that toxic family in the first place. The curse word hung in the air like a bomb. This was live television, and Meghan Markle had just dropped an F-bomb while attacking both Gayle King and the royal family. The control room erupted in chaos, but the two women on screen seemed locked in their battle, neither willing to back down. "Watch your language," Gayle warned, her professional composure straining under the pressure. "This is a family show, and our viewers deserve better than your tantrum. And yes, I am questioning some of your claims because that's what journalists do. We don't just accept everything at face value, especially when the evidence doesn't support the narrative." "Evidence?" Meghan's voice cracked with indignation. "What evidence do you need of someone's lived experience? Do you want to see the scars from where I hurt myself? Do you want medical records of my suicidal thoughts? Or maybe you'd prefer to speak to the palace staff who treated me like shit behind closed doors while smiling for the cameras?" The raw emotion in Meghan's voice was undeniable, but so was the manipulation. Gayle could see it, the studio could see it, and millions of viewers watching at home could see it. This wasn't vulnerability. This was a calculated attempt to control the narrative by playing the victim card when confronted with uncomfortable questions. But Gayle King hadn't built her reputation by backing down from difficult conversations, and she certainly wasn't going to start now. What happened next would push this confrontation past the point of no return and set the stage for one of the most explosive television moments in recent history. Gayle's expression hardened as she leaned forward, her voice dropping to that deadly calm tone that veteran journalists use when they're about to deliver a knockout blow. "Meghan, let me ask you something directly. If your mental health was so severely compromised, if you were truly suicidal as you claimed, why didn't you seek help from the numerous mental health resources available to you? Why instead did you choose to negotiate million-dollar deals with Netflix and Spotify while publicly attacking your husband's family?" The question hit like a missile. Meghan's face went white, then flushed red with rage. "How dare you? How fucking dare you question my mental health struggles? You have no idea what I went through, what they put me through. Those deals came later, after we escaped that toxic environment." "Escaped?" Gayle interrupted, her journalistic instincts now fully engaged. "Or were you asked to leave after making unreasonable demands? Because sources close to the palace have said that you refused multiple offers of support, refused to follow protocol, and created a hostile work environment for staff members." Meghan shot up from her chair so fast that her microphone pack clattered to the floor. "Sources close to the palace? You mean the same people who leaked stories about me to the press? The same people who briefed against me while I was pregnant? Those sources, Gayle?" The studio was in complete chaos now. Producers were shouting into their headsets. Camera operators didn't know where to point their equipment, and the show's director was frantically trying to decide whether to cut to commercial or let this train wreck continue for the ratings gold it was generating. "Sit down, Meghan," Gayle commanded, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had interviewed presidents and world leaders. "You agreed to come on this show. You agreed to answer questions. You don't get to throw a tantrum every time someone challenges your version of events." "My version of events?" Meghan's voice rose to a near shriek. "My version? I lived it, Gayle. I was there when they refused to protect me from racist attacks. I was there when they denied my son's security protection. I was there when they made me surrender my passport, my driver's license, my keys. And yet you managed to travel to New York for multiple baby showers, to Wimbledon with friends, to private jets for vacation." Gayle shot back without missing a beat. "Funny how those restrictions seem to disappear when it suited your lifestyle." The personal attack landed perfectly. Meghan's carefully constructed narrative was crumbling in real time, and her desperation was becoming more apparent with each passing second. She began pacing behind her chair like a caged animal, her hands gesticulating wildly as she spoke. "You're twisting everything. Those trips were approved. They were necessary for my mental health. But every single time I left, the press attacked me for it. I couldn't win no matter what I did. And people like you, people I thought were allies, you all just stood by and watched it happen." Gayle stood up now too, matching Meghan's energy but maintaining her composure in a way that made the contrast even more stark. "Allies? Meghan, I defended you publicly. I supported your decision to speak your truth. But what I won't do is sit here and let you rewrite history or attack the institution that my friend Catherine serves with such grace and dignity. The mention of Catherine, the Princess of Wales, was like throwing gasoline on a fire. Meghan whipped around to face Gayle directly, her eyes blazing with fury. Grace and dignity. Are you seriously going to praise Kate fucking Middleton right now? The same woman who made me cry at my wedding rehearsal? The same woman who never once reached out to support me when the press was destroying me? You made the claim that you made Catherine cry, not the other way around, Gayle corrected firmly. And then you admitted in your Oprah interview that the reverse was true. So which is it, Meghan? Because your story keeps changing depending on what serves your narrative at the moment. The fact-checking was brutal and precise. Meghan realized she had been caught in an inconsistency, and her response was to double down rather than acknowledge the contradiction. The story is complicated. It's not black and white. But what happened between Kate and me is private, and the fact that you're bringing it up shows exactly what kind of person you really are. What kind of person I really am. Gayle's voice carried a dangerous edge now. I'm a journalist, Meghan. It's my job to ask difficult questions. It's my job to hold people accountable when they make public claims. And right now, you're acting like every entitled celebrity who thinks they can control the narrative just because they don't like the questions. The word entitled struck a nerve. Meghan stepped closer to Gayle, invading her personal space in what could only be described as an aggressive manner. Entitled? I gave up everything for that family. My career, my independence, my identity. I moved to a foreign country, learned their customs, followed their rules. And what did I get in return? Racism, isolation, and abandonment when I needed them most. You gave up a cable TV show and gained a global platform worth hundreds of millions of dollars, Gayle fired back, not backing down an inch. You gained a title, a palace, staff at your beck and call, and the resources of an entire monarchy. But that wasn't enough, was it? You wanted to monetize the royal connection while simultaneously trashing the institution that gave you relevance. The truth of that statement hung in the air like a verdict. Meghan's face contorted with rage and something that looked almost like recognition that she had been exposed. Her next move would determine whether this confrontation would end in complete disaster or somehow find a way back to civility. But as the cameras continued rolling and the tension reached a fever pitch, it became clear that civility was no longer an option. What happened next would shock everyone watching and cement this interview as one of the most controversial moments in television history. Meghan's face twisted into an expression of pure venom as she pointed her finger directly at Gayle's chest. You know what? Fuck this. Fuck you. Fuck this show. And fuck everyone who thinks they know my story better than I do. You want to sit there and judge me? Let me tell you something about yourself, Gayle King. The profanity-laced tirade sent shockwaves through the studio. Crew members were frozen in place, unsure whether to intervene or continue filming what was clearly television history in the making. Gayle remained remarkably composed, but her eyes flashed with anger at the personal attack that was clearly coming. You think you're some kind of journalistic icon, but you're nothing more than Oprah's lapdog, Meghan continued, her voice dripping with contempt. You ride her coattails, you kiss ass to stay relevant, and now you have the audacity to lecture me about accountability? When was the last time you challenged your precious Oprah on anything? When was the last time you asked her about the damage she's done platforming frauds and charlatans? The attack on Oprah was a bridge too far. Gayle's professional mask finally slipped completely, and when she spoke, her voice carried decades of earned authority and zero tolerance for disrespect. You need to stop talking right now, Meghan. You're embarrassing yourself and insulting a woman who gave you the biggest platform of your life to tell your story without pushback. Biggest platform? Meghan laughed bitterly, the sound harsh and grating in the tense studio atmosphere. You mean the platform where I was edited and manipulated to look like the victim? Where questions were scripted and answers were coached? That platform? Well, here's some real truth for you. That whole interview was bullshit, and deep down, you fucking know it. The admission was stunning. Meghan had just admitted on live television that her explosive Oprah interview, the one that had damaged the royal family's reputation worldwide, was fabricated or at least heavily manipulated. The implications were staggering, and everyone in the studio seemed to realize the magnitude of what they had just witnessed. Gayle seized on the moment with the skill of a seasoned prosecutor. Are you saying you lied during that interview? Are you admitting that you misrepresented events to Oprah and to millions of viewers around the world? The trap was perfectly set, and Meghan walked right into it. In her rage, she had revealed more than she ever intended, and now she was faced with either doubling down on her lies or admitting to a massive deception. Her response was to lash out even more viciously. I'm saying that interview was exactly what it needed to be to get people to listen. Sometimes you have to speak in ways people can understand. You have to make them feel something. The truth is more complicated than a soundbite, but you wouldn't understand that because you've spent your entire career asking softball questions to celebrities who treat you like their personal publicist. The admission was devastating. Meghan had essentially confessed to manipulating the truth to generate emotional impact, to lying by omission at best, and outright fabrication at worst. The studio erupted as producers realized they had captured one of the biggest television moments of the decade. Gayle stood up straighter, her voice now carrying the full weight of her professional outrage. So you admit you manipulated millions of people. You admit you used the very real issue of racism as a weapon to attack people who couldn't defend themselves. You admit you exploited mental health awareness to generate sympathy while knowing your claims weren't entirely truthful. Don't you dare twist my words, Meghan screamed. But the damage was done. Her credibility was in ruins, live on national television, and everyone watching could see the desperation in her attempts to walk back her admissions. I'm not twisting anything, Gayle replied with deadly calm. I'm repeating exactly what you just said. You manipulated the truth to make people feel something. Those are your words, Meghan. And now millions of people who believed you, who defended you, who felt genuine pain on your behalf, know that you played them for fools. The psychological warfare was surgical in its precision. Gayle had maneuvered Meghan into destroying her own credibility, and the former actress was finally realizing the magnitude of her mistake. Her response was pure panic disguised as righteous indignation. You set me up. This whole thing was a setup, Meghan shrieked, looking around wildly as if searching for allies in the hostile studio environment. You brought me here under false pretenses. You ambushed me with questions you knew would upset me, and now you're twisting my words to make me look bad. I asked you direct questions about claims you made publicly, Gayle replied, her voice steady and professional despite the chaos around her. If the truth makes you look bad, that's not my fault. That's yours. The final blow was delivered with surgical precision, and Meghan seemed to physically deflate under its impact. But rather than accept responsibility or attempt to salvage the situation with grace, she chose the nuclear option. This is over, she declared, ripping off her remaining microphone equipment and throwing it to the floor where it landed with a sharp crack. I'm done with this ambush. I'm done with your questions. And I'm done pretending that people like you deserve any respect. She started moving toward the exit, but Gayle wasn't finished with her yet. Running away again, Meghan? Just like you ran from your family in Toronto. Just like you ran from the royal family. Just like you'll run from the next situation when it doesn't give you exactly what you want? Meghan spun around one final time, her face contorted with rage and humiliation. Go to hell, Gayle. And when this blows up in your face, when CBS realizes what a liability you are, remember that I tried to do this the easy way, but you wanted war, so now you've got it. With that threat hanging in the air, Meghan Markle stormed off the CBS morning set, her heels clicking angrily against the studio floor as security personnel moved to escort her out of the building. Behind her, she left a stunned studio, a journalist who had just delivered one of the most devastating takedowns in television history, and millions of viewers who had witnessed the complete destruction of one of the most controversial public figures of the modern era. As the cameras finally stopped rolling and the studio lights dimmed, one thing was crystal clear. Meghan Markle's carefully constructed public image lay in ruins, destroyed not by her enemies, but by her own words, her own admissions, and her own inability to handle the kind of real accountability she had spent years avoiding. The Duchess had finally met her match in Gayle King, and the results were absolutely devastating.